I didn't
Same with
have.
me.
There was no pre-existing conditions. There was, my numbers. When I say numbers, is LVL, HDL, all that. That was all
Yeah.
good. So there was no pre-existing conditions. I've been doing, have been doing jiu-jitsu for 10 years. When this happened, so it's like I'm a
Mhm.
healthy jiu-jitsu guy. And like if you looked at that screencast of that dude Ray before, like
Mhm.
Ray's just absolutely ripped, like, so we're not like the typical, like, guys that, eat too
Yeah.
much, pizza, and we got our, plaque. But the reason I'm starting off the conversation is because I want to document like what I'm doing, um, from a follow up, because I just got my follow up from the doctor in January. So here we are in March. So my accident was in August. When was your accident?
Mine was July 30th, so it was right before yours.
Yeah. So like 2 weeks before. So
Yeah, July 30th. Yeah, let me see. It was a Friday. Let's see. Yeah, it was right around then. It was July 30th, I believe. I'm just making sure. It was a Friday. I didn't go to the hospital right away though. I didn't have what the paralysis and all of that. And I guess we're gonna talk that later
yeah,
too, right? I mean, when
yeah,
you record. But it was
I,
more of a.
yeah. I just started recording, by the way.
Oh, okay, okay,
So well,
good.
that's okay.
So mine happened exactly on. Let me see. I just want to make sure. Yep, it was well Friday the 28th of
Okay.
July 28th, and I went to the hospital on the 30th. It wasn't even like day and a half, really, day and a half later. So basically, do you want me to start? Kind of
Yes,
like where
absolutely.
it happened.
Yep.
So I I was flying. I was traveling in Seattle, traveling in the West Coast for work, and I flew back to Atlanta on that Thursday, the 27th. So it was a really long flight. Typical flight is 5 hours. It turned out to be an 8 hour flight because we couldn't land and had very little water. Had a big bottle, but in 8 hours that wasn't enough. And so I was like, man, I'm dehydrated. I haven't had enough to eat either, and I started getting this massive headache. Right, so to the point, like the first thing that I did when I landed, I went to the terminal, bought some Excedrin, and took some Excedrin, like 3 or 4 actually, instead of like the two that they asked you, because it was bad. So I was like, oh man, this is bad. I got home late that evening, and I was kind of feeling a little bit better. Went to bed, and then the next day, kind of had an easier day with work. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go, sweat this out. So I went to train some, and I went to the noon class. Had some good rolls there. Felt good. Felt better. It's a little dehydrated. That's all. And then, like later in the day, typically I don't train on Friday night. I come home and stay with my girls. I have 3 daughters and my wife. So we do movie night or something like that. But for some reason they had a play date. So I'm like, my wife's her name is Andrea. So I'm like, hey Andrea, do you mind if I go? Like it's my chance to go to jiu-jitsu now again. And so she's like, yeah, let's just go. So I went, and so I'm having I'm rolling there, and it was with a gi, and was feeling good, feeling pretty tired, but that obviously was, I felt like I was dehydrated, jet lagged because I was in the West Coast the whole entire week. So I kind of like, but I wanted to kind of like get back used to the schedule that I was in before that. So I was like, screw this. I'm gonna feel better after this, and I was feeling better, just tired, like physically tired. So I'm rolling, and everything is fine. And then I was running with this guy, he's a nice guy. His name is Jeff, and I'm on my back. He puts one hand in the collar. He's going for a cleaver choke, and I'm just defending the second hand, right? So just imagine that I'm flat here, right? His hand is right here on my left side of my neck, and I'm just defending the second hand, and so there's no choke, right?
Yeah.
So I'm at the same time I'm trying to get out from underneath of him and trying to escape, the hand. He's not getting there. But as I'm kind of like grinding out of the choke, not quite the choke because the hand wasn't there yet. The pressure on my neck with it was super super tight. But obviously, all I'm thinking is like, there's no choke. I'm okay. I felt discomfort, but I'm getting out. I'm fine. I'm fine. And then eventually I got out. So that he's got it, almost got it, but I'm basically out. So I got out of there, continued with the roll. I ended up getting out, ended up on top and all that. And then obviously time, switch to another partner kind of thing. So I didn't feel anything really. Then I'd say probably 10 seconds later, I'm on my knees and I'm kind of adjusting my belt, and I turn to him and I go, his name is Jeff again. I'm trying to address him, but I couldn't talk. So I'm like,
fuck.
but in my mind, I'm like, crap, what's going on?
Oh shit.
I'm like, he looks at me. He's like, what? This guy is a guy who comes to Atlanta only in the summers. He used to train in our academy years ago. So we're not friends. So he just knows me from comes once a year. So he's probably thinking this guy's on something. I'm high or something, because I definitely acted like I was on something.
Yeah, that's what it's
and
like.
He's like, what?
That's
like
what
twice. And I'm like trying to say something, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
So I kind of like waved him away, like kind of like, never mind, whatever, just ignore me kind of thing. I'm like, but in my mind, I'm like, what the hell? What's wrong? Something's happening. I'm like stubborn, so I'm like, I gotta sweat this out. So so I stood up and didn't say anything. I was just concerned. I went up to to the other side of the room, and so I'm there standing in La La Land, and another guy comes up to me, which later I found out that when this guy came up to me, and later, I mean like 30 days later, I saw him again. He was telling me that while I was up against the fence, another friend of mine came up to me asking me if I wanted to roll. So he's on this side. I'm looking at that side, and he's talking to me. I'm completely ignoring him, like he does not exist. But then all of a sudden, this other guy comes up in front of my face. So I do see him. He says, "You want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." So I go and I start rolling. So I'm out of it. So I'm rolling with him, and in the middle of the roll, I feel like I'm in his guard, and I'm rolling fine. I mean, my mobility was there. I was able to move and go around and all that. I actually passed his guard. I remember this stuff. But through the roll, I remember it's like, whoa, something is actually like, now I'm a little lightheaded. So I kind of waited, and then I just kind of like was on top, but not doing much. I'm like, okay, just breathing, waiting for time. And then that was over. I stood up, and I'm like, okay, I think it's time for me to just sit on the couch over there and just rest for a little bit. So I went to the couch, and I'm looking at the mat area, and I'm seeing this guy's training, and then it just dawns on me that I don't remember these guys' names.
Oh, fuck.
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, whoa. So I'm like, these are my brothers, right? I see them every single day. You know how it is.
Fuck.
And I just couldn't remember their names, and I'm like, oh, what's his name? Okay, hold on. What's his last name? I'm like, oh man, I can't remember. What about this guy? And I know who they are. I know what they are to me and all that stuff. And I just couldn't really figure out what their name was. And I'm starting to look around, and I just can't remember. So I'm like, whoa, I think it's time for me to go. This is already around 9 o'clock at night. So I'm like, okay, definitely I can't drive. So I'm gonna wait for a little bit of recover a little bit, whatever's happening, and then I'll drive. So I get up, I go to grab my backpack, I grab my phone. I see my phone, there's a text message, and I look at the text message, and I can't read it. So I'm like, looking at my phone, and it's got like a long message. I can tell it's a long message. I just can't distinguish the letters. I can't put two letters together and pronounce the letters. I don't know what the sound is. I don't know how to, for instance, Chris, C-H-R, I would be like, I just don't know how to pronounce that. I couldn't read. And everything was like super fast, moving super fast to me. Like I would go from the first line to the fifth line kind of thing. So I just didn't know what was happening. I knew where it came from, not because I could read the name, but because I knew that it was a group text, 3 friends of mine there. So I knew it was one of them who's sending me this message. So then I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go. And I didn't think at all about hospitals, doctors, ER, nothing. I'm like, I just gotta go home and rest.
Oh.
I just need to rest.
Yeah.
So went to the car, reclined my seat, just rested a little bit there, and what I did is I have a personal phone and a work phone. I work for Verizon, so I have another phone. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call I wanna call myself to hear what I sound like, because
Oh,
I can
fuck.
I can tell I sound like an idiot. Um, so I'm calling and I can't really talk. So I'm like, like
Oh,
trying to say
shit,
whatever,
dude.
and I
Yeah.
can't. So I'm like, man, this is bad. So then I play the message, and it's like terrible. I'm like, man, I would make fun of myself. So then I kind of waited another maybe 20 minutes or so. I was 45 minutes in total in the car.
Dude.
And I kind of made the same call again, and it was a little bit better. So I'm like, okay, well, it sounds a little bit better. That means I'm getting better. So I felt a little bit like more into it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to drive home. And it was stupid, but I did, and I made it home fine, no
Jesus.
problem. I drove slowly.
Wow.
Yeah, I was so out of it. Got home, and my wife was in the basement. Opened the door. My kids were there. So, by the time I got home, I had a headache, like a bad headache again. It came back. So I didn't even want to scream for my wife's name or anything, because that's how bad it hurt. So like, kids, come, like, girls, let's go to bed. I don't feel well. Let's all go upstairs and wait for mommy up there. So we went. They, thank God, they didn't complain. They just came with me. They went to their bedrooms. I went to mine. Fell asleep. So my wife, when she came to bed, she never knew what happened. So I fell asleep. I woke up somewhere in the middle of the night with a headache, but um, took some ibuprofen, and it went away. When I woke up in the morning around 7 o'clock, I felt better, right? So I'm like, I just needed to rest. That's all it was. And I'm like, let's go to jiu-jitsu.
Oh, shit.
Let's go back to class.
Oh, shit.
So, but I went, but I was like, I'm not gonna roll. I'm just gonna do class, see what I feel. See if I feel better. I was able to talk again. That's such a dummy. I was able to talk and all that, and so I get there. I tell one of my friends there. His name is Will. I'm telling him what happened, and he's tells me, he's like, you're probably very dehydrated. And I'm like, I think I am.
Oh, shit.
So I start drinking a lot more Gatorade and all that, and I'm feeling better, but I didn't roll. Nothing happened, and I'm able to speak now. But I'm able to speak, but I have to think about what I'm saying. Like, it's not like right now. Like, I'm just talking. I just literally had to think about what I am saying, kind of like that. And um, so anyway, I ended up, packed my stuff, went back home. That day, I had three of my friends from Jiu-Jitsu uh, came to the house with their wives and kids, and for a cookout. And